Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, however you have found me. I'm just so thankful that you're here with me today as we delve into week 47, Thanksgiving part 1, and our book, Queen of the Castle, 52 Weeks of Encouragement for the Uninspired, Domestically Challenged, or Just Plain Tired Homemaker by Lynn Bowen Walker. And you're going to see a bit in here where I'm prepping a little bit for our event that we had at our house this weekend, and this is coming up late. I apologize for that. Life happens and intentions don't always happen the way you want them to, and of course my open house took precedence over completing a YouTube video, which is totally fine because we all have to learn how to balance things, and that was one of those things that I needed to balance. I'm going to talk about in this one, in hers she talks a lot about the different foods that they might make for their Thanksgiving feast, and she's doing some traditional ones in here, and what I like about this is she's teaching you simple, or has some simple mashed potatoes and make ahead gravy, and I love that. And one of the things to keep in mind when you're making these things is timing. Now, I don't know about you, but one of the things I dislike is having cold food. Like, you might have warm or hot green beans, but then your mashed potatoes are cold, and that's just not a pleasant thing to do or to eat. So it's really important in my book when I am having an event or something that everything is warm and ready at the same time, and that is hard to do when it's a meal, number one, for more than just your family, because you usually cook for your 4 or 5 or however many people in your family on a regular basis. But when you're doubling or tripling that amount, completely different story. What I like about turkeys, if you do turkeys, I love those oven bags, and I think those are phenomenal. And so it cooks in the oven bag. You don't have to remember to keep basting it because it just cooks in its own juices and in that bag, and it's amazing. And you can add other spices and things like that. I don't. I keep mine simple. I lift up the skin, I stick a couple pats of butter in there, put it in the bag with whatever it is, tablespoon of, I think it's flour. You cut a few holes in it and you stick it in the oven for however long it claims you need to have it in there. Afterwards, it needs to rest for an hour. So that's always my goal. If I'm going to have a dinner, let's say at 5 o'clock, that at 4 is when that turkey is done, because it then needs to rest for an hour before you carve it and serve it up. So I try to make sure that that's done an hour before, and then everything else is ready right at 5 o'clock so that it's nice and warm. And that opens up your oven to cook or bake or brown rolls, or if you have 2 ovens, which I'm fortunate, I do have 2 ovens here at our new home, you can keep one as kind of a warming plate. Another thing you might do is think about making mashed potatoes in your crock pot, if that's a dish that your family traditionally has, or you can cook them, make sure the crock pot is on warm, and stick your mashed potatoes in there and use that as a warming plate. I know Instapot, there's lots of things you can do with the Instapots. I have an Instapot. I don't really use it much. I use it to boil eggs. That's about it. So, but I know of some people who really, really love it. But in my household, I don't always do a traditional, what would be a traditionally an American meal. And so with the open house, I chose a theme. I chose items that I have made for my family that they love, with the idea that if only 2 people showed up to the open house, we would have leftovers for the rest of the week, and we would be just fine. So I made some traditional beef stew. I made a split pea soup, and I think I go over this in the video, so maybe I shouldn't name it all off. But when I'm patching this all together, I'll figure that out. So, but I made some traditional hearty soups that my family likes, a couple of hearty breads that my family likes to go with those, or separately. They're nice, to toast for breakfast, or warm up later in the evening as we get chillier weather. And some desserts, and the desserts weren't sweet, because who wants candy? And if I want candy, I'm going to go buy candy. But for my cupcakes, they were sweetened mainly by the fruit that was in them. So blackberries were in one, and then apple in another. So they had a nice light sugar or a light sweet taste to them, which was really nice. And of course, some easy things that I easily can reheat for breakfast: meat pies and stuffed mushrooms. And there is still a bunch of that stuffing left over, which I'm going to tell you makes for some wonderful meals. It might be something where I just go pick up some green peppers and use that as my stuffing for my green peppers, and then that extra flavor that you get from that, oh my goodness. So there's lots of things you can do. So a lot of things I think about when I'm preparing something is, what are my leftovers going to look like? Because that will make life so much easier in the end. So I'm going to go ahead and add that little video that I made on Friday. It's now Sunday where I'm finally finishing this up. So 2 days ago I had grand intentions of showing you the food, finished, prepared, whatever. And I tell you what, Saturday morning I was running from the minute I got up to make sure everything else was ready. And one of the things that I'm very thankful for is, number one, my youngest daughter does live with us, and every now and then I'm like, hey, can I pay you to clean the house? So I did not have to worry about the house. The house was taken care of, so that gave me the free reign on Friday to cook. And I was in the kitchen for about 8 hours, I think, on Friday, just prepping and getting everything ready. And the only thing that had to be taken care of Saturday morning was finishing up the mushrooms, which my husband gladly did, and then the other thing were the meat pies, and my mom and my sweet aunt finished those up for us, so that I had the freedom, once people were there, to leave the kitchen and just show them the house and visit. And I tell you what, I am so thankful that we took the time to do an open house, and it just got me all excited all over again about hosting other events and in my home. And I made sure to tell them, our home is your home. If you need a place to have an anniversary party or something, this house is set up to entertain, and we would love to be blessed and to be able to bless you by using our home. So super excited about that, and I will be recording our next one that will air after Thanksgiving, part 2. And so of course it will air after Thanksgiving, but it's a great one that talks about things, promoting thankfulness. And I want to just encourage you, this can be a hard time of year to do that. It's so easy to get caught up in those little mundane or frustrating things, and people being late, or people not showing, or just wearing our heart on our sleeve, and being upset over the little things. And trying to look at life with your glass half full really does make it so much better. So at least it does for me. So I'm going to be praying for you, and I love the verse that she has mentioned in this one at Colossians 3:17. Whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks through him to God the Father. And honestly, love it. I love it. I love it. Oh, the other thing I wanted to mention that I didn't mention before was, when you're hosting, I try to pick a theme. I come up with a menu, and I did not decorate my house any different. It was decorated for the fall. I left it at that. And just that warmth. And it was so funny because of these cute little gnomes on my fireplace, and one of our friends was like, oh, where did you get those? I love those. I'm fascinated with gnomes. I love them. I love them. The Grocery Outlet, which Grocery Outlet is a new store for me. It's closer than Winco, which is a discount food store that we have in the area. But it's still cheaper than like Safeway or Albertsons or any of those bigger chains. And so I had gone through there one day, and I couldn't believe some of the stuff they had. It was pretty amazing. So, but yeah, that's where I got them, was at Grocery Outlet, and they're stinking adorable. But blessings to you. I hope that you are able to enjoy time with family or friends this Thanksgiving, and just taking part in life and loving and enjoying life. Blessings to you. Hi, thank you for joining me today. We are going to do some cooking and baking today,
And one of the things that is really important is to come up with your menu. Now you can do pretty easy stuff. There's a lot of pick up and go stuff that you can get from the grocery store these days, but I decided to make it a little crazy. And so I have my menu. I'm going to do two breads. I'm going to do a soda bread and an oatmeal and potato bread. I'm going to do two soups, split pea and stew. For sides, we're going to have vegetable trays, fruit trays, meat pies, and stuffed mushrooms. And for dessert, we're going to make Connemara apple cupcakes, Avoca blackberry cupcakes, shortbread cookies, and lemon curd to spread on any of those lovely things. And for drinks, we're going to have simple stuff: lemonade, soda, coffee, and tea. So I'm glad you're here with me today, and this is the day before our open house. So this isn't Thanksgiving. I don't host Thanksgiving, but this is for our open house tomorrow, and so I'm going to record this, and it'll be the day after our open house that you'll see this. But we're going to get started with some food prep, and so the first thing I'm going to do is I know I'm going to need to dice up my onions. I know I'm going to need to dice up my green peppers, and I know I'm going to need to dice up my celery. So that's what I'm going to get started with. And then I know for my stew, I'm going to need to cut up some of the other items that I have: carrots and potatoes. And so I'm going to just grab my recipes and we will get started on that. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab any of you have these things. I can't remember if I got one for my wedding or where I got it originally, but I've gone through a few of these over the last 20-some years, and I just love them because it can dice things up very nicely. So I'm going to dice up my onions first. So I'm going to be prepping the items I need for 4 meals, or 4 of the items right now: the stew, split pea soup, stuffed mushrooms, and the meat pie, because that's a lot of the vegetables, and so I'm going to take care of that right now. The Irish stew I will start in the crock pot tonight before I go to bed, as well as the split pea soup. So, but the stuffed mushrooms, I at least want to get the items together, the insides together, and the meat pie stuff together, and then tomorrow morning we will finish getting those things prepared. But once I get all this kind of chopped up and good to go, then I can get started on the baking. And with the oatmeal bread, I think I'm going to use my my bread machine for that, because then I don't have to sit around and wait for it to rise and do all that kind of stuff. So, and it will bake up beautifully in there. And the soda bread is pretty easy, and that bakes up very lovely in the oven. So I will do my best to take great pictures for you of those things. But for now, I'm just going to prep all of these items and get moving from there. And if you're interested in learning any of these recipes, let me know. And I'm happy to do next year, add that as part of my content with some of my recipes that I have found over the years, most of them in Irish cookbooks, or some of them on the internet even, but some great places. So I'm going to go ahead and get busy by prepping all of my vegetables, and I will see you in a bit.